right, now only here on Scripps News. The pleas for help at one of the largest privately run immigration detention centers where one detainee was found dead. Documents unearthed by the Scripps News investigative team and interviews with detainees reveal urgent complaints about a Pennsylvania jail run by a for-profit corporation. Scripps News has been investigating the growing use of private jails to lock up immigrants despite a track record of problems. Scripps News investigative correspondent Patrick Terpstra is live in our D.C. newsroom with all the details. And wow, Patrick, you went to Pennsylvania. You saw this facility firsthand.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are a couple of things that stand out. First, just the sheer size of this place, about 1,300 detainees. If you are arrested by ICE in the Northeast, chances are you might end up at Moshannon Valley, where we went. Also, they had a suicide a few weeks ago. And as we started to dig in, we found that there were warnings about conditions at this center before that death. An emergency call for an ambulance to rush to a private jail housing immigrants deep in the woods of Pennsylvania.
555 GEO Drive, the Moshannon Valley Processing Center. ALS emergency for cardiac arrest.
A Chinese immigrant has been found hanging in a shower room.
An individual that hung themselves. They do have CPR in progress.
It's too late. 32-year-old Chao Feng-ge, who'd been living in New York before ICE detained him 5 days earlier, has died by suicide. The Moshannon Valley Processing Center in Phillipsburg, Pennsylvania, where he died, is run by the GEO Group Corporation. Since 2021, beginning during the Biden administration, Moshannon's immigrant population has ballooned. It now houses over 1,300 migrants. Our previous Scripps News investigation exposed safety issues at privately run jails going back years. But oversight of private jails has been difficult, even for members of Congress.
They, of course, did everything that they could to make sure that we couldn't get in.
We drove to the jail ourselves to try to at least see the complex from the outside. After all, U.S. tax dollars are paying the bills to keep the lights on. We were just hoping to film a little bit of the complex, if there's any way we could do that.
No, I've been directed to tell you to leave. This is private property.
Okay, dope. A guard with GEO Group stitched on his shirt turns us around. Well, they've asked us to leave, and we will respect that. It is private property. But it's just too bad that we can't film a little bit of this beyond what we can see here, which is barbed wire, a lot of fencing, some buildings. A tip leads us to another way to get to the stories of the people jailed inside, some for more than a year. We learn dozens of detainees have been filing petitions in the closest federal court, pleading with the judge to end their detention. So I can see online that all of these are petitions filed by immigrants who want to see a judge. Probably most of them are at Moshannon right now. The issue is when I click on any of these petitions, it says, you do not have permission to view this document. But I've been told that if we come to Johnstown, Pennsylvania, to the federal courthouse here, we can actually read these documents in person. The catch is we can't bring a cell phone or a laptop, but we can bring a pad of paper and a pen. So we're going to go read these petitions and take some notes. We head inside the Johnstown Federal Courthouse and into a closet-sized room with one computer and no printer. We transcribe by hand the immigrant petitions that reveal reports of inadequate health care at Moshannon and still other detainees placed on suicide watch in the months before Chao Feng-ge killed himself. One report says Moshannon discontinued the 15-minute wellness checks for a detainee who experienced several severe panic attacks, including one that led to his hospitalization after a suicide attempt. Then there's the case of a Nigerian immigrant, a survivor of domestic abuse and female genital mutilation. Her petition says Moshannon does not provide regular or adequate gynecological care, and that when she arrived at Moshannon, officers stripped her naked on camera, causing her to have a severe panic attack. She, too, was placed on suicide watch. How are conditions at Moshannon? Through her lawyer, we arranged to speak to her on the phone in a series of calls from the jail. and agree not to reveal her name. She says after a year and a half, her desperation led to thoughts of harming herself.
To commit suicide, to kill myself because of all what is going on with the pain and all. When I think about my 2 kids, I keep myself be strong. I've never been locked up like this in my life. I'm just a single mother that came to work to find a daily bread for my 2 kids. That is who I am.
She was detained by ICE last year after getting arrested for an altercation with acquaintances. A judge ruled she can't be deported back to Nigeria because of the likelihood she'd be persecuted there. Her petition says she needs medication for blood pressure, chest pain, anxiety, depression. But medications have not been consistently provided to her while ICE has detained her.
Being here makes me feel more depressed. I'm far away from my 2 kids. I can't reach my children. I can't see my children.
ICE denies her claims and says she has had numerous visits with medical staff and has refused recommended treatments on numerous occasions. We've spoken with several other detainees, including an immigrant from Jamaica who'd been in the States almost 30 years, who's been held at Moshannon for 9 months.
We are just going out of our minds and no answers. They don't give enough food. The vents are not being cleaned enough, so it's like it's making me sick right now. That's why my voice is so raspy. I'm feeling sick at this moment.
The GEO Group did not respond to our questions about specific claims from detainees at Moshannon, but told us in a statement, in all instances, our support services are monitored by ICE. We train all staff on GEO's suicide prevention and intervention program. The support services GEO provides include around-the-clock access to medical care, and additionally, all of GEO's ICE processing centers are independently accredited by the American Correctional Association and the National Commission on Correctional Health Care. Professor Sarah Pauletti at the University of Pennsylvania worked on a 2024 civil rights complaint that said access to medical care is woefully inadequate for all people ICE detains at Moshannon. It's a report that documented 2 other suicide attempts.
When you had heard that someone had died there, what were your thoughts?
An inevitable tragedy. So this is a problem across the board with immigration detention. The treatment for mental health is completely inadequate, if existent at all.
So hard to know, Holly, exactly what is going on inside of this complex. As you saw, when you drive up there, you're turned away. There are signs about not flying any drones overhead. We have asked the GEO Group, we have asked ICE to let us in to show us around. They have said no so far to those requests. ICE saying that they have to have safety and security in mind. And again, they have turned away 2 members of Congress at this point, even though the law says that members of Congress should be allowed to go into ICE facility unannounced.
Wow, an amazing story there, Patrick. I want to talk about immigration detention and a source of revenue. You found that it's proven to be a major source of new revenue for these companies.
Absolutely. So not only is there this need to house more immigrants, but it turns out that this has been really a boon to 2 of these companies, GEO Group and CoreCivic. In fact, the head of GEO Group just last month telling investors that they are seeing unprecedented growth opportunities, really able to bring in revenue, especially as the Trump administration seeks to double the amount of detention space, the number of immigrants locked up. Holly.
Oh, well, thank you for bringing us that very important story. Investigative correspondent Patrick Terpstra live in Washington for us. Thank you, Patrick.